Should I make this? All right, so we've kind of moved our way through this idea of awareness. We spent a lot of time on awareness, and there's a good reason for that. It's because awareness is kind of the first step to realizing and noticing the things that you've been doing unconsciously. It's such an important step because as long as you're doing stuff unconsciously, there's no way for you to change it. And at the moment you bring awareness to it, that's when, first of all, it starts to feel a little bit more painful, unfortunately, when you realize these things, when they keep popping up again. It can be frustrating as well when you start to say, well, kind of, I know these things, but how do I stop them? And what we've done is we've looked at kind of emotions, limiting decisions and limiting beliefs, stories. Okay, what stories have you been telling yourself? What story have you used to create your identity and align to your identity? And what's the pattern? What's the pattern that has been continuing as a cycle in your life? And realizing that everything's really just a pattern, that we're habitual creatures, and that if we continue to do the same thing that we've always done, or focus on the same thing, or expect the same thing as the past, we're going to continue to get the same thing in the future. And when that stuff is all unconscious, then the direction of your life is not dictated by you. It's already determined and predetermined by all this unconscious patterning. And most often than not, that's controlled by emotions. So where we're moving into now is into this space of connection. Okay. And with connection, what we're going to talk about is, in today's session, we're going to be discussing emotions and energy. Okay. And really the purpose of this is to dive in and help you guys understand why emotions are so important and why they have the ability to impact and influence your life so dramatically. This level of understanding of emotions will be probably at a level deeper than, I would say, like 90% of the people you come across day to day. Okay. And it's incredibly useful to have this kind of level of understanding about what's going on inside you emotionally. Most people just don't know. Most people just have no idea about their own emotions, how emotions affect them, and really how important or how much they have to do with the quality of their life. So that's the first thing, is as we move into this, and over the next 3 weeks, we're going to continue on this theme of connection. And really this is about building connection with yourself, building connection with your heart, and really understanding or moving towards the answering this question: who am I? Okay, because we just spent like 3 or 4 weeks figuring out who you're not, right? And you figured out that you're not your stories, that you're not your identity, that you're not your emotions, that your emotions come and go, you're still there, that you're not your thoughts, okay, that you're not your patterns. So the question is, if you can observe all of those things happening in your life, then who are you? Who are you that can watch and be the witness to your emotions, to your thoughts, right? And to your patterns and to your stories. And what that's moving into is figuring out what the truth is. Because essentially, what the stories are fantasies or fairy tales, or depending on what kind of language you want to use, they're kind of lies that you tell yourself. You know, I spent most of my life telling lies about myself, both in the literal sense of lying about who I was, but also in the more insidious way of lying to myself by pretending to be someone that I wasn't, not knowing who I actually was, trying to be someone in order to prove to myself and others that I was good enough. And that got me tangled up, and hiding behind a wall and protecting myself and pushing people away because I was too afraid of them seeing the true me. And by the time I got into a relationship with Moret, that all came to a massive collision, and I had to make a decision for my life, which was, do I continue living in this way, or do I come clean? And that's a big kind of scary moment for a lot of people, to come to that moment and say, all right, I'm going to come clean. I'm going to come clean with the universe, and I'm going to find my truth, the truth, and I'm going to align to the truth, and I'm going to commit to living a life of honesty and truth and authenticity at all costs. And I'm going to, and you can only do that once you've connected deeply with yourself, and you have the level of trust in yourself where you know that nothing anybody else can do out there can have any effect on you, right? So it doesn't matter what people do out there, whether it's your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, mum, dad, or children, or best friend. There's nothing that anyone can do that can have an impact on you. Okay, that you are in total control. That means you can open up and be vulnerable to people and trust, knowing that no matter the consequences, you'll still be there, you'll still be standing. That is getting in touch with the truth, with your authentic self. And your authentic self is what we're going to be talking about more in the coming weeks. This is where you go to make all your decisions. Okay, rather than going outside yourself to find and ask advice and try and figure out what to do by doing pros and cons lists and blah, 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 you will just know, because you'll be so connected to your authentic self, connected to your heart, connected to the truth. Okay, it's an incredibly freeing feeling to stop worrying about kind of what you're saying and whether you're good enough and all of those things. So that's kind of an overview of where we're moving into now through awareness. Okay. Did you want to add anything? No. Does anyone have anything to say or anything to add at this point? After anything come up while I was talking? I would love to hear from you guys throughout this. If not, that's cool as well. Turn in.
I think just the last month has just been really powerful in being able to, I know it's all about awareness, but actually just getting in touch with what's around you and what you take on and what you don't. And there's some things that you change over that period of time, but there's others that it just takes a little bit longer. But it's great that to be aware of that. So it's nice to be moving into to where to from here kind of thing. Like, where is your truth?
Yeah. So awareness, like I said, awareness doesn't make things better generally.
No.
It kind of just shines a light on.
Briar's just shaking her head pretty aggressively there.
No, is that right, Briar? Yeah. You know, I always used to say to myself, you know, I've been on such a weight loss journey through so many years of losing weight and going through different periods of motivation and a lack of motivation. And it's like years later, after I'd lost, you know, over 100 kilos. And then, you know, when I would go on these periods of like binging and, you know, it still happens, for sure it still happens. But those periods were so much more painful after I knew what I was doing and after I knew the unconscious patterns right? Like going back and going back to some of the crutches that I would do, procrastination or whatever it was, binge eating is a huge example. It was so painful to go, oh, why are you doing this?
Knowing that you're choosing it as well. So it's not so unconscious anymore. You're doing these things consciously aware of what you're doing. I'm laughing because Brian's just got this big smile on her face. You're aware. You're aware of those patterns and you're seeing them play out, but you're still continuing to choose to do that.
Yeah. So that's why it's important to move from that, because awareness really highlights to you how you've been so affected by other people. Does anyone notice over the last couple of weeks, they're like, they've been affected by other people? Right? Like, that's a pretty kind of big understanding to deal with. And sometimes the solution seems to be, I just got to get out. I just got to cut these people out of my life.
I've got to retract from everybody.
Yeah, because I can't handle this. I can't believe that I could sit and have coffee with this person 2 weeks ago and everything was fine, but now I can't stand the words that are coming out of their face. Like, how can you be so negative? How can you speak like that? Don't you know that it's your fault? Don't you know that you're responsible? Don't you know, right? This is what we want to say to our work colleagues, right? The people, our old friends that we've known for years and years and years, not connecting at the same level, because it's like, I can't be around someone with such a victim mentality. This is all just an example, by the way, not that this has ever happened to me, right? But this is what starts to happen when you go along this journey. You start to say, these people out here, Mom, Dad, I can't believe that I grew up in that. Of course, now that I understand that everything's formed when I'm between 0 and 7, and I've taken and absorbed all those beliefs, I see where the belief comes from, because I see it in Mom, I see it in Dad, I see it in Grandma or whoever raised me. I can't believe that I didn't even have a chance. All of these thoughts too, right? That's all normal. That's all normal. Don't cut your tires just yet, because I'm going to explain now the importance of emotions and why we do this work. All right, so let me bring up some slides.
Do you want to set that to?
I'll do it
Set
here.
that up to present.
All right. First of all, I want to convey just how important emotions are. Now, I didn't know this because I had spent the majority of my life trying not to feel them. And I'd done that. The reason I had done that was well, a whole bunch of reasons. But I mean, there are a couple of big reasons why we choose not to feel emotions or do whatever we need to do to not feel them. Traumatic emotional events in the past. Okay, so big traumatic events, big experiences, traumatic emotional experiences. What we learned from our parents. Perhaps our parents weren't particularly expressive with their emotions. Whose parents weren't particularly expressive with their emotions? Right, it seems to be a common theme among that generation, really. That's definitely true for me. Was it true for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if you don't feel safe enough to express your emotions, if your parents, wherever your parents were limited emotionally, that's where you're going to be limited as well, because they can't guide you and show you how to express emotions or how to be expressive with emotions if they couldn't do it themselves. You would just never build that muscle, right? Was there anyone here who experienced some anger from either one of their parents, mom or dad? Okay. and overwhelming anger from mum and dad. Is anyone parents here who had an issue with anger where they didn't express it very much, didn't stand up for themselves? Okay, so either one of those is a relationship with emotion that's slightly skewed. And we could talk about all the rest of it. Mum, not letting her child see her cry, for instance, or a mum who's so overwhelmingly emotional that the child learned at some point to hide what was going on for them so that she wouldn't hurt her mother, or he hurt her mother. Okay, so all of these things that go on when the emotional literacy is not there. So what we're doing now is going to be learning about emotion. And the first thing we want to talk about is this idea here, that emotion is energy in motion. Okay, I first heard this in Tony Robbins, and I can't forget it. Okay, and when you understand more, you understand how important this little equation is. Most people think that energy comes from the food you eat, right? It's not actually true. The food you eat gives you calories, and you can burn calories for energy, but energy itself is generated from within. Okay, it's been called a whole bunch of different names in a whole bunch of different cultures. It's chi, energy, mana, or whatever you want to call it, spirit, life force. But that energy that comes from within flows through your body. Okay, it flows through your body through energy channels. Now, let's just do something for a second. Okay. And we'll experience this for a second. Can all of you think about something sad? All right, and don't worry, we'll only do it for a little while, but think of something sad, and I want you to actually do the things in your body that you do when you're sad. So let your body move in whatever way it needs to move when you think about something sad, and really just go with it for a second. Right. Now, where do you feel the energy going? Is there a direction? Is it going up or is it going down? You can use your thumb to show me. Up or down? Down. Kelsey's is going up. That's cool. Okay. Where are your shoulders going? Are your shoulders forward, down, or are they back and up? Down. Right. Your breathing, is it shallow or is it deep? Shallow or deep? I don't know. Okay. Are your eyes, are they down towards the ground or are they up high towards the sky? Down. Okay. If you were to introduce yourself or feel this while you're introducing yourself, someone, would your voice be low, small, quiet, or loud and excited? Be quiet. Okay. In a general way, what does your energy feel like when you're feeling this feeling of sad? You can just type it in the chat box if you can, or if you want, or you can come off mute and someone can share. Blah is a good example. Yeah. All right. Now we'll move on to this. Just low in general, but just quickly, I want you to have a quick think about what type of thoughts come into your mind when you're in this space. What type of thoughts come into this space? You can think them if you want, you can allow them in, or you can just have a concept of them. And what I want you to do is just, what's the point is a great one. That's blah. That's the blah feeling, right? So just for a moment, let's do the opposite. And let's use our physiology to see if we can make some changes. So let's bring our shoulders back. Okay, let's sit up tall. Let's keep our eyes up. Let's take a deep breath, and we'll take 3 deep breaths down into the belly through your nose. and breathe. And you can make a bit of noise, let some noise come out. Okay, breathing nice and shallow. And I just want you to think about a happy moment or excited moment or a moment of gratitude from your life. Okay, right. And you can just see the difference in that straight away. Eyes are up, shoulders back, and you can literally, just by changing your physiology, just by changing the way that your body is doing things, can change the way that you feel on the inside. Does anyone else feel different? Right? Feel different energetically. Now, what type of thoughts are you having? If you were just to allow some thoughts into your head right now, or your mind, what are some of the thoughts that you might be having? Are they different from before? Free.
Yeah.
More grateful. Okay. Now, we remember that we're not our thoughts. We're not our emotions. That we can observe our emotions. So what does that tell you when, just by changing the way that your body is, the things that you think about, you can actually change the energy in your body, the way, what you focus on and what you think about, and that can change how you feel. Okay. It's very, very interesting. Let's go back. Okay. So feeling an emotion is literally like allowing energy to flow in your body. And we don't feel energy when it's stagnant. So what we did all that time, and for a quick example, I experienced a lot of anger from my dad. He was very outwardly angry and aggressive. And as a small child, that was terrifying to me. And I saw the way that it impacted the family. And I made a decision that I didn't want to be anything like that. And one of the ways that I made sure that I wasn't like that was I decided to never be angry. Okay, because I saw how destructive it was. So in deciding to never be angry, I did a lot of work to push it down, so that when I would feel it, like I would run up to my room, scream and cry into a pillow until it was gone. And the other thing that I did was just stuff the anger down with food. But we can figure out all sorts of strategies in order to push emotions down so that we don't feel them. And what I was doing was not actually processing the emotion, but just pushing it further into my body, right? Stuffing it down. And it's like there's a volcano inside, and I was capping the volcano, and it would build pressure while I would continue to try and just plug the volcano. And what happens when you plug a volcano, and when a volcano starts to build pressure? Okay, eventually the pressure gets so great that the volcano explodes. And the real dangerous volcanoes are the ones that explode less frequently. Okay, because they build up the most pressure. The volcanoes that erupt often, they're not so dangerous. People can live nice and close to them, like, right? So what's happening when we put emotions in is we learn, or we create a strategy to protect ourselves or to benefit us in some way, because we feel unsafe to express the emotions. And when it goes in, it creates a plug or a block. And that's a block in emotion, a block in energy, right? So this is where illness comes from. We push that energy down inside us and it doesn't allow it to flow, then there's no movement through the body. And this is where sickness comes from. So we do this for a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons is because I decided that anger was bad. I decided that anger was bad. So in deciding that anger was bad, I just said, I'll never feel that again. I only want to feel the good ones, right? So immediately set up a judgment, good and bad. Anger's bad, happiness is good. Sadness is bad, joy is good. Okay, and when we play with that good and bad, that judgment, then we set up this idea that it's not okay to feel certain emotions. Now have a look at this wheel of emotion here. And I mean, this is by no means all the emotions that exist, but I like it because it's a representation of the equality of emotions. And if you look around, you can see that placed on this inner circle are very opposing and very different emotions. And as we span out wider, we see that those emotions move kind of further apart. Okay, we've got joy, anticipation, anger, disgust, sadness, surprise, fear. Okay, but they're all given equal footing in this wheel. And it's really good representation to say that there really are no good or bad emotions. Emotions are useful. Emotions have lessons within them. But you can only learn the lesson of the emotion once you've allowed, accepted, processed, and released the emotion from the body. So if every emotion has a lesson, I mean, it's like if every emotion has a lesson, then if you've got emotions inside you that are trapped from events from the past, then what is that telling you about the lessons from those events from the past? There's a block. There are unlearned lessons trapped within the memories of the past. Whenever I have someone that comes to me and starts to list all of the things that they've been through in life, and I can see that the emotion's right there in all of those things, no matter how dramatic or how painful those things are, I can't help but think about all of the treasure that's locked away within these negative emotions that are affecting life so dramatically now, that are from the past. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Does everyone know what I'm saying here? When you get hooked or trapped in these emotions and they stay with you, whether it be grief, whether it be anger, whether it be sadness, from emotional events from the past, the lessons that are there for you to learn and to grow, they cannot be appreciated. You cannot feel the gratitude for them. You can't understand how they connect in your life, because all you can feel is the emotion. And the emotion's so overwhelming that you can't move forward. It's like, for instance, touching a hot stove. Now, if a child touches a hot stove and he burns himself, then there's a lesson to be learnt in that, right? And the lesson is, don't touch the stove when it's hot. Now, as that wound heals, if before it heals he touches the stove again and re-burns his fingers, then that wound doesn't get a chance to heal. In fact, it gets worse. If he continues to touch that stove over and over again, refusing to learn the lesson that he needs to learn, eventually he's going to burn his fingers right down to the bone. Okay. But it's only once we learn the lessons that we can stop doing the thing that hurts us. Did you know that anger, fully felt and processed, can only exist for about 45 seconds? About 45 seconds is all that anger can survive for in the body before it's fully processed and released. And the reason we can know this is by looking at babies. Okay, and you can see a baby like my beautiful nephew who's coming to visit us on Thursday can get unbelievably angry, can get so angry and frustrated and all the rest of it. And you can see the anger or the emotion rise to its peak, and it gets quite intense, but then they do whatever they need to do, and then it dissipates, it goes. And then they're done. Now, if what we do to extend the life of the anger is we re-trigger it. So if anger is surviving inside you for longer than 45 minutes, 45 seconds, 45 minutes for some people a lifetime. Some people are angry for a lifetime, and this is why. Because they are re-triggering the anger themselves. They are choosing to feel angry. They're choosing to remember something from the past that makes them angry, choosing to believe a story that they're telling that makes them angry, choosing to surround themselves in situations that cause anger. Okay. Does everyone kind of get that? Here's another one for you. 4 minutes of anger can suppress your immune system for up to 6 hours. So 4 minutes of anger, that's anger that's inside your body, trapped in your body, can suppress your immune system for up to 6 hours.
Now, who's been angry for more than 4 minutes in their life at one time?
Yeah, sometimes days, right?
Sometimes weeks.
Sometimes weeks, sometimes years. Okay. We never learned how to feel the emotion, and by the time it gets so bad that you feel it, and anger, I talk about anger a lot because that's where we start, because anger is so overpowering, and anger is so overpowering that all the other emotions, they tuck themselves in underneath it, hide themselves, and eventually, once you've suppressed emotions for long enough, all you can feel is anger. You can't, there's no differentiation or to understand that what's actually being felt is sadness, or actually being felt is resentment or frustration or any subtleties. It's just anger, right? Let's have a look at this. Okay. So this is introducing the concept of a little spiral here. And the spiral is important because we talked a lot about patterns. So when we get triggered into emotions, or certain emotions, we just have a look at this representation and know that that spiral can spiral either up or down. And just like a snowball, it gains momentum, it picks up speed, and it builds. So to be triggered into a certain emotion, let's say jealousy, what happens in the body is what we just did before, where it affects your physiology, it affects the things you focus on, and it affects the language that you use, basically what you think. And that jealousy or that boredom or whatever it is can start to spiral because your emotions are so intense and overwhelming that they trigger thoughts. And the thoughts trigger more emotions, and the emotions trigger more thoughts. And that continues to spiral down and down and down to thoughts of grief, feeling unsupported, doubt, rejection, disappointment, humiliation, irritation. And if there's some of you that we've done this work with, but if not, this is the stuff that we'll be doing in our one-on-ones coming up in the next couple of weeks, is identifying what's at the bottom of this spiral. And for most people, it lands at the very bottom with a certain belief. For some people, it's I'm not good enough. For others, it's I'm not worthy, unworthiness, shame, I'm unwanted, I'm alone, I'm unloved, I don't deserve love.
I'll always be alone.
I'll always be alone.
I'll never find someone.
What's the point of all this? Yeah. Okay. And that spiral, as you will probably know, can be difficult to get out of once it takes hold. has anyone experienced what I'm talking about here?
We're so unique, huh?
Yeah, no, we're all the same. Understanding this stuff is like the key to total freedom in your life. Because until you know it, you could be living down here, just constantly wound up in this spiral, re-triggered and re-triggered and re-triggered, and only very briefly glimpse anything up here.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just want to share, so yesterday was a perfect example for me. You know, just feeling a little bit sick in my body, really low energy, didn't move much yesterday, and feeling very flat, wasn't very productive, and I just started to feel really crap about everything. And I was probably kind of maybe at frustration, maybe, and maybe a bit of self-pity as well. It's always a good one. Whoops. And that really started sort of in the afternoon, and by the evening, by bedtime, I was kind of down here in like helplessness and worthlessness and like victim and unworthy. And I had this emotional outburst basically, and shared with Nathan all the things that were wrong in my life. And I was saying to him, because I'm aware of this stuff, I'm like, I feel crap because I'm feeling a bit sick. I know I'm having all these negative, terrible, awful thoughts about everything being wrong in my life and how everything's just disastrous and catastrophic. And I'm not believing these thoughts, but this is how I'm feeling. And I really kind of just said some really horrible things. And I was like, okay, that was like the caveat. I know it's all bullshit. I know I'm just like cranky and I did the spiral, right? Before, that was a conversation that used to happen sort of every few months without my awareness. So it would just be like, life is terrible, life is horrible, everything is just disastrous. And I had no idea why I felt that way. And then the next day I feel fine. Understanding this little spiral helped me really kind of go, all right, I know I'm having a moment. I'm going to spiral all the way down to like, I'm going to die. It's so bad. You know, life's not worth living. That's where it gets to. And I know that as soon as it sort of, you know, the spiral goes down, it's going to eventually start winding its way back up. And today I felt completely different. Still really low energy in my body, but I just felt differently. And I could really feel myself sort of rising in my energy, rising in my enthusiasm, and my, you know, those sort of nice feelings at the top of that spiral. So, but again, it's just the awareness. And if we, prior to doing this stuff, and you guys probably have experienced this when we were talking about awareness, before it was just a totally unconscious process and you had no idea what was happening. But, you know, as the case was last night, I had that awareness. I knew what was going on. I knew that my negative, you know, my low energy in my body was creating all these sort of thoughts, and the negative thoughts triggered negative emotion and vice versa. And I knew that I was spiraling down. I don't have to believe any of it because none of it's true. It's just true in that moment because that's how I'm feeling. But I know that that's not a reflection of my entire life. So, you know, that this is, you know, part of kind of joining that sort of connection and awareness piece is that you will start to connect your little spirals, and you'll connect them with the way you're feeling in your body. You'll, you know, and that sort of you know, the way your energy is flowing.
Well, it's a good point, because there's actually nothing wrong with feeling any of those feelings. And what Marette expressed to me last night, they were things that were potentially difficult to hear. Because you never really want to hear when someone that you love is feeling those things. Now, what would have happened in the past is that I would have made that...
Brought him down with me.
Well, I would have made that all about me. Right. So knowing that, Marette probably would never have opened up. She never would have expressed those things, because I wasn't capable of handling it. I couldn't just listen and be there and support without my own emotions being triggered and then spiraling down myself. So if you've got two people spiraling downwards together, what do you reckon that looks like? Right? In a relationship, in a work situation, with your parents, with your children. Okay? This emotion dictates everything. So if you've got someone who doesn't know about this stuff and you're learning about this stuff and you see them getting trapped into this cycle, and then with what they're doing, they're making statements that are out of effect. So they're saying that you're causing them to feel certain ways. Maybe you feel like, because they're feeling a certain way that you're not good enough or whatever. You're already being triggered into this emotion yourself. And you're feeding each other negativity. The ego pops up in both of you, and all bets are off.
And it's like lost. A whirlpool, right? We get it's like a rip or a whirlpool. Everything gets pulled into it. Everything around it gets pulled into it. Like a cyclone, actually. Right. It's more like a cyclone, really, because it's destructive.
And when you're sick, like when you're physically not feeling good, and this goes for when you're not taking care of yourself, when you're not getting enough sleep, when you're overstressed, when you're working too much, when you're working out too much, when you're giving too much, when you're not expressing yourself, when you're
giving too much and not receiving enough. Can I just make that one very clear?
For sure. When you're not doing your self-care work, when you're not doing the things you need to do to fill yourself up, to feel love from within, when you're holding on to resentments, when you're not forgiving from the past, when you're people that you're cutting out of your life or whatnot, then that's all going to affect this. And some people just live their whole life down here, just bitter people. People who have just practiced being bitter for so long that eventually their face contorts into a little raisin, right? And you can feel them when you walk past them on the street, right? Head down, and you just kind of want to cross the street. This is a person who has just practiced and practiced and practiced this spiral so much that for them there's no other way to live. But you have the ability to pull yourself out of this and rise up with the same, and to be pulled into that spiral just in the opposite direction. Okay. And the way to do that is to clear these trapped emotions from the body and release the energy flow up into this direction, positivity. Okay. And we did that just before, but we want to show you over the next couple of weeks the technique that we use to clear and process negative emotions. It's incredibly powerful.
All right, just a time check. Okay.
Yep. So, there was something I wanted to say.
Next few weeks, clearing.
Yes, but I want to finish this off. Does everyone understand that so far? It's an important aspect to understand now where we're at, is how important emotions are and these spirals that you can get caught into. If you are practiced in getting caught in that negative spiral and you've spent a lot of time down below that line, do you think it might be difficult to pull yourself out at times? Yeah, because once you get caught, it's very quick. It's very quick. It sucks you all the way down, right? And to start working on that upward spiral, it's just like practice. It's just like getting good at anything. That's all it is practice. All right. Who's interested in finding out how to release and process trapped negative emotions from their body? Okay. All right. So this is where we're getting to now. And we're going to explain that more over the next couple of weeks, but it's also what we're going to be focusing on in our one-on-ones. Okay. Just quickly, this is a chart that shows vibrational frequencies, and I won't get too far into it because we're wrapping up now, but let's put it this way, really, really simply. That when we did that activity where you put your shoulders forward and you were thinking about something sad, what you are essentially doing, because we're all energy, right? Human beings, we're nothing but energy. We're just balls of energy. We're atoms vibrating and molecules vibrating at a certain speed, and that's all we are. I don't have the ability right now to explain at the depth that I want to explain about quantum physics and how we're made up of energy. But let's just kind of move with it to this understanding that at every level, we are vibrations. And every emotion relates to a different vibrational frequency, okay? Now, these emotions down here correlate to a very low vibrational frequency. It means that those molecules, those atoms are vibrating at a very slow, very small, very contracted pace.
Low vibes.
Low vibe. That's true.
Yeah.
Think about it. Low vibe. It's there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're low vibe, okay, that means we're contracted, which means that we're isolated.
It means we're shrinking down.
It means we're shrinking down, which means we're generally not open to allowing things into our life. We're generally closed off, contracted. Our energy is small. Okay. At that point, see this at these levels of spiral, thoughts, okay, thoughts also align to these vibrations. Now, since you're not your thoughts, have you ever wondered where they come from? Let me explain where thoughts come from. Thoughts are there all the time. They're out in the air, in the world, right? And you tune into them like a radio station, okay? And every thought aligns to a different vibrational frequency. Wherever you're vibrating is where you're tuning in to receive thoughts. So if you're down here at guilt, shame, grief, fear, and anger, then you're tuning in to those thoughts at that vibrational frequency. And those thoughts are just not going to be great. They're just not going to be good thoughts. They're going to be thoughts about not being good enough. They're going to be thoughts about, oh, not this again, you stupid idiot. Comparison, judgment. They're going to be thoughts that don't make you feel good, that keep you vibrating low. Okay. But as you move up the scale with that spiral and you start moving into these higher vibrational frequencies, these emotions cause your being to vibrate at a higher level, at a higher frequency. And when you vibrate at a higher frequency, like we did before, shoulders back, eyes up, voice nice and loud, confidence, certainty, joy, love, all of that stuff, you're expanded. And when you're expanded, you're tapping into the power of your true nature, the power of intention. And we won't go too deep into that because I don't want to scare you too much, but we'll start moving down that path a little bit later. All that's important to know here now is that when you're in an expanded state of vibration, you become like a magnet and you attract energy into your life.
I think everyone has had moments, I'm sure all of you guys can relate to a time when you've just felt really good and you've gone outside and you've walked up to your cafe, your favorite cafe, and the barista's giving you a coffee for free, or you've, bumped into someone that you really, really like or you haven't seen for a really long time. And then, you walk down the street and someone says, you just look absolutely wonderful. I just wanted to stop you and let you know. Whatever variation of that. Or
you sell your car.
Or you sell your car.
Which is what happened to me the other day.
But we've all had those moments where we feel really great and we're our frequency is it's a high frequency, so we're vibrating higher. Versus those days when we're feeling like crap, we don't put the effort into the way we look, and we walk down the street and everything just seems to go wrong. You walk into work and everyone's kind of, you're attracting all the, you know, all the negativity. That's anything that's in the woodwork, you're kind of pulling it in towards you.
You're spreading it. This happens when you're sick. This happens when you're low vibe. Has anyone experienced that feeling where things just click into place and things just seem to be working for you? I know Simon has. You told me, you know, right? That is what I want you to focus on. Okay, that's what we're going to be focusing on over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, because it's all that matters. All of your problems that you have, all the things that you're dealing with and focusing on, they are only there because of where you're sitting vibrationally. And if you've got trapped emotions in your body from the past, then automatically you're going to be trapped emotionally and energetically at those low levels in that low spiral. Right. So have you guys ever had the experience of talking to someone or speaking to someone, maybe Murad or myself, and then after you get off the phone, you seem to just have a crazy new vision for your life, or some kind of feeling of high energy, and you walk away and things just shift? Yeah. Because that's what we're doing. You know, that's part of what we do, because we know this stuff, and we want to teach you how to do it as well for yourself, but also for other people. So when someone gets on the phone with us, with the amount of work that we've done now, we're able to do that, to take a person wherever they're at, no matter where they are on that spiral, and shift them and bring them gradually up into an expanded state of vibration, right? It's more than just feeling good. It's more than just a dopamine hit. Because it's at that moment, those moments where a person takes action for their life, that they start to invite new opportunities into their life, right? So
I was just going to say, and that takes practice, and that's something we have to consciously do. And, you know, we can definitely feel it. We talk about energy and intake. You know, when we eat healthy, we generally feel a whole lot better. When we exercise, we feel better. You know, our vibes are much better.
Mm-hmm.
We're high vibe, versus when, you know, I eat a whole rack of ribs from Hurricanes and then feel really, really low vibe.
Right.
Very satisfied, but very low vibe.
And you know, we can have all sorts of crazy solutions to low vibe. When we're not feeling good, we can go and drink lots of alcohol. That seems like a great solution at the time, because what you want to do is just to feel better in the moment. We can go take, you know, we can go and take drugs. We can go and have sex with someone that we meet on a night out. We can go to work. We can go work out. You know, there are lots of strategies we can create to try and solve the problem that we think that we have, which is this low energy problem. People go to the doctor and say, I'm feeling low energy. Can you help? And the doctor doesn't fucking know. Like, the doctor doesn't know. He can't know what low energy is, such a thing. So, I mean, he might try some medications or try some things or whatever, get more sleep, B12 injection, iron, blah, 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 blah. You got trapped emotions in there from the past, forget it. None of that stuff's going to have any effect anyway. You're just rocketing towards illness. Nothing you can do about it, not with medication, not with any diagnosis, not with anything, unless you understand this, clear and process that emotion and free up that energy for you in your life.
All right.
Talk to us.
I'm going to take everybody off mute. Here we go.
So how you can process these emotions? Like, what is the best way to process emotion? Like, allow it to have, put it to your heart, like feel it, and just like forgive yourself or forgive someone else. To like, how what is the best way to process?
Yeah, so that's
because I do some stuff. Maybe it's better way to do like what you can recommend or how.
Yeah.
Of course, it's different for everyone.
Yeah, we're going to be covering. One major way that we use to actually process emotion. We're going to be teaching you that technique.
That'll be during the one-on-ones, but
we didn't get to it this week only
Yeah.
because that's not where we're up to yet. And I felt like it was more important to teach you guys about emotions and energy first. There's no rush for this stuff.
We got some time.
The biggest thing, the biggest tool you have is awareness. Nothing beats awareness. And awareness can be cultivated. And how you cultivate awareness is through awareness. But for me, meditation has been the most beneficial tool I've ever found to creating awareness. Because quite simply, if you are able to be present and detach from the meanings of the thoughts that you have, then you can actually just watch the emotions pass and not get carried off in them. You can watch these thoughts go past and not get attached in them, just watch them pass you by. But if there are trapped emotions, then this process that we're going to teach you guys, and we'll teach you, we're going to be doing it now in our one-on-ones, and then we're going to be also teaching it in the group, is going to be the most powerful and effective way to clear the emotions. Other than that, yeah, so it's going to be, other than that is the next thing that we're going to teach as well, which is heart centering. Basically, all of this can be solved, okay, by just coming back to your heart. And we're going to teach you how to do that. We're going to teach you how to do that. Okay. So make sure you guys book your one-on-ones, and any of this stuff that comes up, we'll go through. We're going to teach you that technique and go through it with you. And then once you guys have had an experience of it, we'll come back together as a group and we'll continue to develop the details. But that comes, now we're talking about connection, that will come and move in as we talk about freedom, which is the next part of the program. Thanks for the question, bro. Anyone else, some takeaways from tonight's session? Anyone have any takeaways? No? Okay.
That you attract the energy that that you focus on, and it's really interesting because my next question was going to be, and you answered it, Maria, is how do you stop this from happening, or how do you keep it positive, kind of thing. But it's like any muscle or any habit, really, isn't it? Like you practice it and you get stronger, and it just becomes habit after a while.
Absolutely, hun. And again, what Nathan said, it's coming back to that place of awareness. It's like, all right, I know this is happening, so I'm just going to allow it. I'm going to just go with it and let the spiral go all the way down, and then it's going to turn around and start spinning the other way. But the resistance creates that suffering, because it's like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I don't want to feel like this. And you know, or like the fake positivity. It's like, okay, everything's going to be fine. Wipe the tears away. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. That holding in and suppressing just keeps it trapped there for longer. So just go with it, let it hit, and then you know it's going to come back up. But it's the awareness piece, knowing that you are in control of that.
You don't be scared of these emotions. Just feel them, like fully feel them. And what Maria did last night was to actually say them out loud, to speak them. You know, shame grows in the dark. It can't survive the light. And that's true for all of this. If there's stuff you're holding on to, there's stuff inside you that you're ashamed of, or stuff from your past you're ashamed of, there is no solution other than to speak it, to find your voice and to bring it out. So Moret spoke it to me, and sometimes it's not that easy with a partner who doesn't potentially understand this stuff, and it really
and they can take on the responsibility of it. It's like, oh crap, you feel this way because of me or something that I've done. Briar, on self-inflicted mute, smashed my phone today. But I'm super keen for this technique because this awareness stage sucks. Finding the weak's pretty challenging, drawing correlations back to the past that I never in a million years would have drawn myself. Awareness is not pretty. It's not pretty, but it's so powerful because,
Well, you know what we're kind of doing, and I said this to Brad, it's kind of like, I want you guys to get so fucking sick of this that you're just like, all right, I'm done. Like,
I don't want this anymore.
Like, that's why awareness goes for so long, because I just want you guys to get to the point where you're like, all right, like, I'm sick of my own bullshit. I'm sick of this coming up again. I'm sick of like these limiting beliefs. I'm sick of holding myself back. I'm just ready to let it go, because the truth is, to let this stuff go is easy. Andre, it's easy. Right? It's easy. It comes when you're ready, but not before. Right? So that's why we take our time with this process, because once it's gone, it's gone. But you have to make sure you're ready to go.
So uncomfortable that not changing is not an option. So uncomfortable that not changing is not. Yeah, that's right. You just can't.
Actually, that not changing.
That
not changing is not an option.
Yeah.
Not changing. Not changing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. We've got to make it. It's got to get so uncomfortable, so
you
painful.
You don't give yourself the option.
That it's like, I just can't keep doing this.
All right,
Simon.
Oh, I'm unmuted. No, I got nothing. I found the whole week sort of confusing. So,
confusing.
But I'm just sitting in it, and I'm enjoying it. I'm much more aware. I find myself a lot more generous, which is kind of weird.
well,
Generous of time, of spirit, of just sitting a little bit. That's. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good place, but still, and then I work from home a lot, right? So I have to take myself outside to see if I can find people who are, want to suck the life out of me. And I'm like, okay, interesting person, right?
I don't know. I don't want to know what your Tinder profile says, all right?
No, but we're looking for these energy vampires, and
no, we're not looking for them. Don't go.
Well, I am. I want to see these people. I'm not going to expose them. I'm just like, okay, that's what we're talking about in those sessions. All right, okay.
You want live examples.
Yeah, but there's also the opposite of that, right? There are people that give you energy as well. I think that we seem to focus a lot on all these bad things that, that person will suck. Other people that give so much.
Simon, the only reason we talk about that is so that we can find a contrast. And the truth is, wherever you're at is the people you'll attract into your life. You literally cannot go out and search for negative people if you're clear inside.
Good, and if you're feeling positive.
It just won't happen. People ask us all the time, in all the places we traveled, everyone's got a bad thing to say about every place. Don't go to Rome, you'll get pickpocketed. Don't go.
But that's travel, right? That's travel's amazing for that sort of thing, for reinventing yourself, for going, hey, I'm looking up off the ground and I'm going, okay, world, where are we going? And it's such an amazing energy to have. And you want to have that travel energy when you come home and go, oh, I can't wait till I come home because I'm going to have all this energy. And then you come home and you get sucked into your life.
That's a perfect example. Everyone knows what Simon's talking about there. That's the energy of travel. That's the energy of new experience, the energy of growth. That's that spiral. You can't help but have a good time when you're traveling because of that energy. And opportunities come to you, right? And just like, ideas come to you. You write in your journal.
And you meet the most incredible people because you're feeling so great, right?
Do you know something that's strange? And this is something that I've noticed, and I looked into it, but have you ever been on holidays in a strange place and run into someone that you know? Has it ever happened to anyone other than me? It's like you're in another state, or you're in another country, or you're in an airport somewhere, and you just run into someone you know. And it's like, how is this possible?
I walked through, I was in Hong Kong on my own, randomly just walking the streets, and I walked through this strange mall that I wasn't supposed to be in, and bumped into an old friend who I hadn't seen in like probably 2 years, her husband. And it's just like in a city of millions of people, and I bump into you on your way to the station. It's just...
And I'm convinced that it's because you're in such expanded energy that you are literally magnetic, and you are magnetized to the people that you know or have seen before. And we're talking go deeper into that when we talk about heart math and intuition. But that's what we're talking about here. Now, all your problems and all those things, and depression and sadness and mum this and past and all the experiences, they cannot survive when you just focus on this, what we're talking about. Because if you just focus on being in that state, then none of that stuff matters anyway. So if you can practice, if you can do the bicep curls and the training that we're teaching to constantly come back to that space, then you eventually just get so good at it that you live there, right?
And that becomes your kind of certainty. Like, you know how to do this really well, so you do it a lot. Whereas most of us know how to do the other shit stuff, right? We know how to feel like crap. We know what to do to feel like crap. That's a certainty.
Practice.
When things are so uncertain in our life, we want to grasp onto certainty. So we'll go do the things that make us feel shit because we all know how to feel like shit. So this is when we feel out of control. This is what we do. Out of control. Shit, what do? I'm going to do the thing that gives me that certainty that I'm looking for. I'm going to feel like shit. Yeah,
which is reaching outside yourself for some sort of control.
Right.
When the truth is that the only thing that you can control is inside you. And by trying to control things outside yourself, you're setting yourself up to feel out of control.
But we just get more certain by doing this stuff more and feeling really good. So then when we are feeling uncertain, we gravitate towards feeling better rather than feeling worse.
All right.
All right, guys.
Any last questions?
Any last comments? No?
If not, we will head off and see you later. Now, reach out, okay, send some messages, and let's book in those sessions this week. Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.